Often I have knelt beside her as she lay on the white leather sofa, repeating to herself, maybe one day I die soon. All my life I've heard this and watched her continue living. She is here now with a cleaver tenderizing meat. She squats on the kitchen floor and pounds the flesh. Today she needs my help, points me to the stone mortar. Heaviness is how she crushes and grinds the paste, garlic, lemongrass, galangal, shallot. I wrap my hand around the pestle, and in this moment, I wish my mother were singing. Were she singing, she would have no pain. I wish she had three hearts, that only one was hard. If she had three hearts, she would live a long life. She would be saying, maybe I have a long life. Mm. Just getting into that comfortable space with your feet flat, your hands resting on your lap, and then straightening the back ever so slightly, just into the challenge zone, and lengthening the neck by a millimeter. And then very naturally, you'll feel that conduit between the heart and the head beginning to widen and connect and converse. And then softening all the muscles in the face, softening the muscles around the cheekbones and in the jaw and around the mouth and the eyes, feeling the muscles of the forehead soften, and then the neck, and opening the gateway to the chest. Just as an experiment for the next half an hour to fling those doors open and send all of the guards, like I always say, send all the guards with their arrows and slings home. All of the defendedness, all of the anticipation of future pain based on past experiences, and the desire for pleasure based on past experiences, and to just sit wide open with no expectations. And then to let fall the muscles of the belly and to really feel that relaxation in our core. And feeling your sits bones either on the cushion or on the chair. so that your whole body is fully connected to the earth. And then we're in it. You feel the ceiling start to rise and the walls begin to widen. And maybe there's a tiny bit more space to whatever news we woke up to or went to sleep thinking about. And then deepening the breath, breathing in to the count of 4 with a pause at the top, and then breathing out to 5. As Pema Chodron says, we're breathing in the suffering, whatever we can carry, to the count of 4. And then in that pause, there is this alchemy that happens in the forge of the heart. And we push it outward to 5 and release it. This is activism. You might say, breathing in, I know this world is an illusory world. And breathing out, I choose this world to help relieve the suffering of others. Even if you're bad at it, even if you fail constantly at this quest, you know that your intention is aligned with the seeds of your Buddha nature. Breathing in, I carry the suffering of one person in Minnesota who's worried and anxious today. Breathing out, I transform it into compassion. Breathing in, I take my own worries or my own anticipation of future pain based on past experiences. Breathing out, I transform it into compassion for myself and for others who are experiencing the same. One more deep breath. Breathing in, I know this world is an illusory world. Breathing out, I choose this world to help relieve the suffering of others. Long Life by Monica Sok. Often I have knelt beside her as she lay on the white leather sofa, repeating to herself, Maybe one day I die soon. All my life I've heard this and watched her continue living. She's here now with a cleaver tenderizing meat. She squats on the kitchen floor and pounds the flesh. Today she needs my help, points me to the stone mortar. Heaviness is how she crushes and grinds the paste. Garlic, lemongrass, galangal, shallot. I wrap my hand around the pestle, and in this moment, I wish my mother were singing. Were she singing, she would have no pain. I wish she had three hearts, that only one was hard. If she had three hearts, she would live a long life. She would be saying, maybe I have a long life. This beauty of a poem comes from Monica's book in progress. It's called The Octopus Tree. The octopus with its three hearts. Her first book was called A Nail the Evening Hangs On. It was published by Copper Canyon about 5 years ago. And this new collection, written by this young poet, Cambodian American, is about the struggle to free herself from generational trauma on the one hand, and also the recognition required to acknowledge the sacrifices of the ancestors that brought her to this moment in her precious human life. And in the poem, the speaker, we could say Monica, but we shouldn't assume that it's Monica, although it looks so much like the life that she describes. The speaker's recounting how the mother has assumed that her life would be short. Um, Monica's own mother and father escaped the Khmer Rouge before she was born. And Monica grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, a kind of Cassandra, knowing things about the pain of life very early on and inheriting this generational trauma. And she's living in a world in central Pennsylvania that doesn't quite understand her insight or her prophecies. And so I think that the she in the poem is as much Monica as it is the mother. When she says she needs my help, this poem is also about helping oneself to see what's really here, which is the subject of our conversations this semester with the Noble Eightfold Path. This concept of generational trauma handed down to children who didn't directly experience the hurt is written about beautifully by a critic named Terence DePrez in the early 80s. He wrote a book called The Survivor about the children of Holocaust survivors and how this pain that those children feel who grew up in relatively safe conditions is as real as the pain that their parents experience directly. So the mother believes that she's going to die. She believes that life is hurtful and her one heart is hard. And so the speaker sees this as a symptom of her mother's suffering, the ways that history has interposed on her natural state, which is her Buddha nature. She wishes that she had three hearts. She had two extra hearts. And if she did have those hearts, then she would clearly know that there are other possibilities in the future, not just the one based on the past. And when we think about those three hearts, Monica grew up in a Buddhist family. So the three hearts in Buddhism are the three jewels, the Buddha, the Sangha, and the Dharma. And of course, in Catholicism, there are three hearts too, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. You could say too that the three hearts are wisdom, compassion, and meditation in the insight tradition. But she wishes that her mother had three hearts so that she could see life really as it is. And if she saw life really as it is, she would be singing. And she would say that all important maybe maybe I will have a long life. So this semester, I want to talk about the Eightfold Path, which is the last teaching and the most important teaching of the Buddha. It's a collection of right behaviors or wholesome behaviors that are depicted as a wheel with eight spokes. And the first of those spokes is called right view. Right view is connected with the Four Noble Truths. All life is suffering. The cause of suffering is attachment to outcomes in all forms. That there's a release from suffering or a cessation from suffering called nibbana. And the way to that cessation is the Eightfold Path. So these practices to the Buddha were all that was required to get you to that point of peace, joy, and freedom. My favorite definition of right view comes from my spiritual teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, who talks about it as a matter of perception. That in right view, we have to water the seeds of Buddha nature and not the seeds of fear and desire. He quotes the Diamond Sutra and says that where there's a perception, there's a deception. So, right view means giving up our beliefs about what we are so sure is going to happen. In fact, to Thich Nhat Hanh, the key question in right view is, am I so sure? Am I so sure? Am I so sure that maybe I will die soon? Am I so sure that that person thinks badly of me? Am I so sure that the world is against me? Am I so sure that, like we used to say in my family, these kinds of things don't happen to us? And on the other side, of course, we have to help others remember too that they have three hearts, that there's suffering, but there's also consolation and meditation and insight, that this is a dream and that there's a release from suffering by acknowledging that. Let's go back and look at Monica's poem again in the light of right view. Long life. Often I have knelt beside her as she lay on the white leather sofa, repeating to herself, maybe one day I die soon. All my life I've heard this and watched her continue living. She's here now with a cleaver tenderizing meat. She squats on the kitchen floor and pounds the flesh. Today she needs my help, points me to the stone mortar. Heaviness is how she crushes and grinds the paste, garlic, lemongrass, galangal, shallot. I wrap my hand around the pestle, and in this moment, I wish my mother were singing. Were she singing, she would have no pain. I wish she had three hearts, that only one was hard. If she had three hearts, she would live a long life. She would be saying, maybe I have a long life. So sitting back and reaching that state again of relaxed attention, maybe with your palms facing upward on your lap. And softening everything again, even the top of your head. Placing your awareness in your forehead, right in the center, and feeling everything like cloth sort of falling from that point. Muscles of the face, the jaw, the back of the neck, throwing open the doors of the heart, letting the muscles of your core fall, the belly softening. With your feet flat on the floor. Breathing in to the count of 4. Breathing out to 5. As far as I can tell, everything truly loving and ethical in our experience asks the question, am I sure? Science asks that question, and that's how it advances. Galileo asked that question, am I so sure that things operate this way just because Aristotle told me so? Let me find out for myself. The Buddha said, don't take my word for it. Try this and find out for yourself. Don't even be sure of me. Am I sure might be the most holy question that you could ask. In order to align with right view, Thich Nhat Hanh instructs, you have to turn and water the seeds of your Buddha nature in the stored consciousness. And remember this as often as possible. What can I do right now to relieve the suffering of the people around me? How can I react with love rather than violence in all its forms? How can I show my responsibility to other humans and to the earth in this moment? Am I so sure I'm helpless? Or maybe you're only watering one of your three hearts, the hardened heart. For the next 3 minutes, sitting with things as they are, letting them settle like silt into this moment, not doing anything. And then meeting them and being here with them. You too settling like silt and being present, even if it's uncomfortable. If there are thoughts whizzing by you, to just watch them pass, to step back far enough to say, am I so sure that all of this is true? Another important insight in right view is that change keeps happening. Changes are disturbing, but even change is change. The Buddha turned around and looked at desire and fear, warriors charging at him, and they turn into flowers. And last is don't judge yourself for not doing this well. It's the intention. It's just saying, am I sure? It's setting out to water those seeds of Buddha nature and watching what happens. I think that's why so much of the poetry that I love changes its mind, like this poem, Long Life, seeks a change of mind. Long Life by Monica Sok. Often I've knelt beside her as she lay on the white leather sofa, repeating to herself, maybe one day I die soon. All my life I've heard this and watched her continue living. She's here now with a cleaver tenderizing meat. She squats on the kitchen floor and pounds the flesh. Today she needs my help, points me to the stone mortar. Heaviness is how she crushes and grinds the paste, garlic, lemongrass, galangal, shallot. I wrap my hand around the pestle, and in this moment, I wish my mother was singing. Were she singing, she would have no pain. I wish she had three hearts, that only one was hard. If she had three hearts, she would live a long life. She would be saying, maybe I have a long life.